Okay, alias.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming to this lunchtime devotion today. Let me share some slide. Okay. Okay. So I suppose you can see the slide pretty well. Okay. Here we are. Today's main text is taken from John chapter 4, verse 43 to 58. I would like our sister Suyan to read for us from verse 43 to 54. Yeah, Suyan, please.
Yeah. So after 2 days, he left for Galilee. Now Jesus himself had pointed out that a prophet has no honor in his own country. When he arrived in Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him. They had seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the Passover festival, for they also had been there. Once more, he visited Cana in Galilee, where he had turned water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death. Unless you people see signs and wonders, Jesus told him, you will never believe. The royal official said, Sir, come down before my child dies. Go, Jesus replied, your son will live. The man took Jesus at his word and departed. While he was still on the way, his servants met him with the news that his boy was living. When he inquired as to the time when his son got better, they said to him, yesterday, at 1 in the afternoon, the fever left him. Then the father realized that this was the exact time which Jesus had said to him, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed. This was the second sign Jesus performed after coming from Judea to Galilee.
Thank you, Suyan. Okay, from this text, John chapter 4, from verse 43 to 54, we can see clearly that Jesus has the power to heal from a distance. So I would like to look at this as a case one, and then I will like all of you to draw the attention to verse 44 and 48. But beside that, I'd like all of you to take note of these two words, verse 43, welcome, and verse 46, Capernaum, right? So let me, I will explain verse 44 as well as verse 48 subsequently. But meanwhile, the story of this the story of official's son is ended well with the healing done according to his faith, and this was the second sign Jesus performed after coming from Judea to Galilee. So I would like to go to another incident. I call it case 2, and then you will see some similarity compared with this case 1. Let's see the next slide. Okay. Next slide is taken from Matthew chapter 8, verse 5 to 15. The faith of the centurion, case 2. I would like someone else to read can KS is there? Is KS there? Or
Quay Xiong. Quay
She
Xiong.
is reading.
Kwai Xiong, yeah. Can somebody read for me, please? Kwai Xiong, yeah.
When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly. Jesus said to him, shall I come and heal him? The centurion replied, Lord, I do not observe to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their place at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, let it be done just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that moment.
Well, thank you so much for reading. And now we can see that case 1 and case 2 are having some similarity. Both the officers as well as the centurion demonstrated the faith that resulted healing from Jesus. So we can see from here, one is happened in Canaan, the other one is happened in Capernaum. So Jesus said to him, to centurion, come, shall I come and heal him? This give more faith to the centurion. And centurion said, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word. So similarly to the case 1, Jesus spoke the word. And now the centurion servant was healed, just based on the word spoken by Jesus. So, and the verse 13 tells us, go and let us done just as you believe it, as you would. So the servant, his servant was healed at the moment. Both cases tells us one common thing. Believing is seeing. So I would like to draw the conclusion from both cases here to say that believing result in seeing. So the other, go back to the verse slide again. Here you say, verse 48, unless you people see the sign and wonder, Jesus told him, you will never believe. But Jesus want to emphasize, believe, then you will see the signs and wonder. Okay, let us continue. Okay. What else did Jesus do in Capernaum? Okay, I would like to explain a little bit about this town, Capernaum. Is something has happened in this town, and I just explain it by saying that the small fishing community play a major role in the ministry of Christ. We see Capernaum mentioned in 19 times throughout the gospel, the 4 gospel. 4 of Jesus' disciples were fishermen in this town. So some significant you can derive from this town. Okay, Capernaum seems to be a familiar place of renewal for Jesus. It's a spiritual renewal. We see him go to Capernaum after the wedding at Cana, where he performed his first miracle of water into wine. And Jesus also cast out the evil spirit of a man in a synagogue. Jesus cast the demon out, and people were amazed, and word about him spread around all of Galilee. You can see many things happen in Capernaum after this slide. Jesus then goes with his new disciple to Peter's house, where he healed Peter's sick mother-in-law. What is incredible is that in the night, Jesus continued to heal many people and drive out demons, but he kept the demons silent because then the demon knew who he was. Even the demon know Jesus is God, right? So there are many incidents happening, including casting out a demon as well as healing, right? Shall we go on the next slide? Okay, this is the synagogue in Capernaum. I believe this is where
Matthew, you are muted. Matthew, you are muted.
okay, right, can you hear me again? Sorry for accidentally muting myself. Okay, this is the map showing Capernaum, right? You can see where is Cana, and it's all well below. I cannot see in this map, but here you can see it's a town at the coastal of the Sea of Galilee, right? Okay, shall we go on? Okay, you can see from this map even clearer. Judea, Jerusalem, as well as Jericho is below, and Samaria, as well as Sychar, where then Nazareth as well, Cana, all on top. Okay, there is a distance of 25 miles from Cana to Capernaum, right? Okay, shall we continue? Okay. I'd like to continue the John's account on the healing of the officer's son, which is the case one I mentioned earlier. Okay, after 2 days, he departed to Galilee. Jesus departed to Galilee, for Jesus himself testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country. As you all know, Jesus came from Nazareth, and then he knew he has no honor, and his brothers actually in the beginning did not believe in him. Subsequently, they did. Okay, let's continue. So when he came to Galilee, the Galilean welcomed him. I have mentioned just now, take note of the word welcome. Having seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the feast, for they too had gone to the feast. Okay, this is recorded in John 4:43 to 45. Meaning to say, at their precise, meaning to say that they have seen Jesus performing in Jerusalem, the many miracles, and now the brothers choose not to believe due to certain reason. Okay, let us see. At the very precise geographical point at Cana, Jesus now takes up his ministry again. At about 20 miles away in Capernaum is an anguished father whose young son is tossing with a fever and about to die. So this man officer has seen Jesus in Cana, so he rushed all the way from Capernaum. Let's see. Hearing of Jesus at Cana, this man rode horseback, very likely at the time there was using horse, 20 miles away up to Cana, where Jesus was, driven by the image of his little boy lying at the point of death, to beg Jesus to come down and heal his son. Okay, let's see. Okay, now I'd like to explain more a little bit about Nazareth to Cana and Capernaum, the journey. According to Luke 3:23, Jesus was about 30 years old when he began his ministry. His first preaching at Nazareth seems to have been unsuccessful because of the brothers. Then later on we will see why. And he left the town to settle in Capernaum. Capernaum in the original Hebrew means village of Nahum. Nahum was a prosperous little town whose inhabitants engaged mainly in fishing. Okay. It was at Capernaum that Jesus called his first disciples, the fishermen Simon, Peter, and Andrew, near a man of nearby Bethsaida, east of Jordan, as well as James and John, the son of Zebedee, and here he invested the 12 apostles in Capernaum alone. So you see, the Capernaum has certain significance to Jesus. It was here also that performed many of the miracles reported in the gospel. From then on, Capernaum was called his own city, according to Matthew 9:1. As Capernaum had a more very population and was nearer to the borders of Decapolis. Just now we've seen the map showing Decapolis. Then landlocked Nazareth. He was probably more receptive to the new teaching. So the people there are more receptive to the new teaching. Okay. Yet people did not entirely sever his ties with the town of his youth, which is Nazareth. John 2:11 tells us this. After the story of his baptism, with a miracle performed by Jesus at Cana in the presence of Mary and the disciple, therefore, if we follow John's gospel, we visit Cana occur in the beginning of Jesus' ministry. Let me continue. Okay, this is the website you can get to know more about Jesus' ministry and the location where Jesus traveled from Cana to Capernaum. Okay, I don't think I need to go to the website. Okay. What was Capernaum known for? Capernaum was known for being the place where Jesus began his ministry. After John the Baptist was killed, Jesus left Nazareth and moved to Capernaum to begin his work. The first disciples were called to follow Jesus there. Okay. He called Peter and Andrew. Then he called James and John while they were fishing. He asked Peter and Andrew to put their nets on the other side of the boat after they had been fishing all night and their catch was abundant. He invited them to become fishers of men. Okay, what is the significance of Capernaum? As I mentioned just now, there are many things. I don't think I need to read all of this, but I have more or less mentioned this, so I skip this slide. So this slide also continue to show what happened when Jesus in Capernaum. One thing that I would like to highlight here is the city of Capernaum represents many who has been exposed to the gospel, but the familiarity with Jesus and his word gave them a false sense of assurance that they were right with God, when in reality Jesus will one day say to them, "Away from me, you evildoer, I never knew you." Matthew 7:21 to 23. The people of Capernaum heard and saw what Jesus did and said, yet they refused to believe. So this thing has happened. Some of them refused to believe. So Capernaum had a greater opportunity than most cities to hear and believe in Christ, and the resident would be held to a higher standard of judgment. Luke and Matthew, we can see the reference. Likewise, we will be judged according to the light we have been given. If God did not spare Capernaum due to the lack of faith, He will not spare those today and who have heard of message, seen the evidence and the they have rejected his son. Okay, let's continue. Okay, I would like to refer to just now I mentioned John 4:44. Why did Jesus say? Okay, shall we go through John 4:44? And now Jesus himself had pointed out that a prophet has no honor in his own country. Okay, John 4:44. So Jesus is traveling from Judea to Galilee. After spending 2 days teaching in Samaritan of Sychar, verse 43 mentions his departure, and verse 45 refers to his arrival. But the upcoming don't seem to indicate much rejection. But in fact, the verse 45 say he was welcome. When Jesus had his next confrontation, brother or someone who do not believe, will be with the Pharisees in Jerusalem as recorded in John chapter 4. All of this raises the question of what John meant by this remark and why he included it in this place in the Gospel, which is John 4:44. That's why he explained that Jesus himself had pointed out that the prophet has no honor in his own country. Scholars offer several ideas. The most reasonable is that Jesus is returning to the region of Galilee, but not to his own hometown of Nazareth. Verse 46 says that Jesus returned to the town of Cana, where he had performed his first miracle, John 2:11. Nazareth, however, is closer to Sychar than the Cana. Jesus would have passed right by it. So once Jesus arrived in Cana, he was there for long enough for a local officer man to hear about his arrival and make a journey to see him. John 4:47. Cana and Capernaum are about 25 miles away, so that this was not a short time. Meaning to say, Jesus chose not to go to Nazareth, rather he goes straight to Cana, even the distance is further away. Okay, shall we continue? This will put John's remark in John 4:44 about a prophet honor in context. Jesus is going to Galilee, the region, but bypasses his hometown of Nazareth, since the people there have no particular interest in his message. John 43 says this, Jesus was just spent 2 days in Samaria, and now he is leaving for Galilee. This time, the Samaria was spectacularly successful, so there was a revival there. It appears that the whole town of Sychar was turning to Jesus, where the woman at the well and the incident, as Jesus turning to Jesus as the Messiah and the Savior of the world. The focus there is not on his miracle working power, but on his word, because Jesus said this word, John 4:42. So you can refer to it by yourself. What did Jesus say to the woman at the well? So, okay, let's look at John 7, verse 2 to verse 9. This further explains to why Jesus was not honored in his hometown. Okay. John 7, verse 2 and verse 9. But when the Jewish festival of Tabernacle was near, Jesus' brothers said to him, leave Galilee and go to Judea, so that your disciple there may see the works you do. Okay. This seems, if you read carefully, this seems to be a sarcastic remark from Jesus' brother. Why does his brother say that? This suggestion made here suggests that Jesus should go and put on show in Jerusalem. The feeding of thousands from chapter 6 attracted a great deal of attention. Given these family members, the two brothers, don't actually believe that Jesus is the Messiah at the beginning. So this is recorded in John 7, verse 5, below here. For even his brothers did not believe in him. You can cross-reference with John 4:44. So this explains that his brother actually, Jesus was not welcomed by his two brothers. Okay. Now I'd like to continue the next slide. Okay, this explains why the word welcome actually means. So, okay, Galilee is where Jesus grew up in Nazareth. About 10 miles north of Nazareth was Cana, and where he turned water to wine, right? So about 15 miles away from Cana was Capernaum, where the officer with the six sons in this history lived. So Galilee is Jesus' homeland in a spatial sense. He is leaving Samaria, which is not his homeland, and turning now to Galilee. So the word welcoming was actually not honoring. The strange thing is that they need to explain in a way verse 44 connect to what Jesus said subsequently. He goes to Galilee, his own people, because he expects no honor there. Now verse 45 says this. So therefore, when he came to Galilee, the Galilean welcomed him. That isn't what we expect, because one moment here you say welcome, and actually verse 44 say it was not honor. So this is really explaining that the welcome, the real meaning here is just a deception. So actually their hearts is not really truly honor Jesus. They just they are just interested to see signs and wonder from Jesus. So this explains that they do not have the heart to honor Jesus, even though they welcome Jesus. Okay, I'd like to go back to verse John 4:48, back to the first slide that we read. Here the word you does not mean the officer man. We refer to the whole group of people, actually should be you all. My Bible version is mentioned the word you all, not just you alone to the officer. So some version may not be clear, but my Bible version mentioned clearly that it is you all, mean the group of people or in Galilee. So Jesus' approach here is meant to show the difference between having the knowledge of God and having faith in God. Biblical faith is really trust. It's not enough to know something, and one has to rely on it and act in accordance with it. Christ often makes a command that seems blunt or dismissive, even puzzle at first. You can see the following verse Matthew 15:26, John 4:17 to 18, and John 6:51. So Jesus sometimes, his word may seem blunt, but actually he has a meaning to say it in such a way that he can bring the revival subsequently. His remarks always have a purpose. However, mostly this was meant to cause the other person to reveal their true intention. Jesus is setting up a spiritual challenge for this man. Are you willing to really trust me without seeing proof or not? This is why John 4:48 says, okay, I quote what my Bible say. Unless you people are miraculously see miraculous signs and wonders, Jesus told him, you will never believe. This explains why Jesus says this. John 4:48. We continue. Okay, let us discuss some of the questions here. And my sharing. Hope I have made myself clear. So the three questions that we can discuss is this. What did Jesus mean by what he said in John 4:48? And when did the royal officer start believing, in John 4:50 or in John 4:53? And what does today's passage teach me about the miraculous healing? Thank you.